What is up, guys? It is Stu. It is another episode of the What the Fuck Gym Talk podcast. I've got my buddy Craig Patterson on the podcast. Craig's been on before. I've been on his. Probably if you go back to like 2017, a lot. You and me were fucking chucking it up a ton on the internets. Or somewhere later on, then you kind of disappeared stage left for a hot minute, and I was used to always seeing you roll it up inside of the CrossFit forums. You'd make one simple statement, and 19 fucking people would want to cock punch you, and I know that world all too well. But for anyone who's not familiar, Craig is the founder of the Madlab Group. He is out of Vancouver, and he's done some amazing things. I want to get into some cool stories with Craig today. I want you guys, if you want to, go back and listen to the previous podcast. I'll link them out. But Craig, go ahead and kind of give everyone just a quick 90-second wrap up, kind of your foray, and because you're OG, you know where the CrossFit bodies are. Like you've got that inside intel, which makes you a very interesting storyteller.
Well, I'll recap what we just talked about for the first 15 seconds. First 15 seconds, Stu's looking fucking jacked over here, dude. He looks like something's good. Something's brewing good in the oven over there. So I'm just coming off a year-long neck injury and a forced sabbatical. Which was perfect. It was good timing for me to take a sabbatical and really rethink about what I've been doing as I worked so hard for so many years. But yeah, my background, I grew up in a small town. I had a scholarship to a university, McGill University, to Harvard of Canada, whatever. Played some hockey badly there. He mostly just drank and got through somehow through the engineering department there. I worked for a couple of Fortune 100 companies in the U.S., taught me a lot about systems, and then I had my own engineering firm. It was around sustainability, green building design, but it was around the economics, not save the whales. You know what I mean? Like, I think I probably lean right center for everybody listening out there. I know I'm Canadian, so that's a hot topic down in the U.S. In Canada, everybody's just left, and we've lost the plot already. It's gone so far that, it is what it is. But in 2004, I sold my engineering business. I had some money for a bit. I didn't have to work right away, and I just got fit. I ran into Greg Glassman at a charity event, and he was the most charming, interesting guy that you didn't notice that he had a limp and he was 5'5", and with a belly. He looked like he was a 6'8" giant when you talked to him. And he was living in a one-bedroom house in Santa Cruz that was rented. Hard to find one of those. And he was broke. And the shit he was talking about just intrigued me, and I started doing it as I was building another engineering firm to go back and pummel some competition that I'd sold to. I just said, man, maybe I'll just open a gym. This would be interesting. And I started personally training people in the park, and I was a pretty big guy to begin with. Like, I played hockey at 210 pounds, and I was like jacked at 210. So I was probably 240, and I got down to 205, which was lighter than I ever was since I've been like 17 years old, and stronger and fitter. And that's that classic CrossFit story. If you weren't broken, you know what I mean? If you didn't have bad shoulders, hip, knees, you didn't have any mechanical problems, you could probably handle a stimulus like that for anywhere from a year and a half to 5 years before you got completely burnt out and adrenal fatigue. But I mean, if you want to get fit fast, it was the boss. So yeah, man, that's I just started running a gym, and there was 3 affiliates at the time. There was just Rob Wolf, and there was Dave Werner, and a couple of.
And what year is this again?
This was 2004.
2004. Okay.
I think I was the 5th affiliate, but I mean, Stu, if you could if people listening, Stu and I talked. There's a thing that I wanted to let everybody know here, kind of like this CrossFit story and how the business model became the way it is I haven't told anybody. I've been sued so many times and threatened and trolls on me and everything. And over the past 2 years, I went back, cleaned up all my own house. It's kind of like Gandhi. Someone comes and asks you, I got to get my son off sugar. So, Gandhi goes off sugar for 2 weeks, and then he can talk to the kid. Well, in my own home, it was we were trying to be something we weren't with the business and online stuff. The only way we can make it work is through a lot of hard work and a lot of one-on-one and a lot of mentorship. And
You're talking about the Madlab Group.
Yeah.
And for context for everyone,
yeah.
Madlab Group is essentially you guys work with gym owners who they have bought into the thesis that you guys have created at the school, the Madlab School of Fitness, which is up in Vancouver. Yeah. And it is very much a very unique. And I just had Tom on the podcast. For anyone who listens to the podcast with Tom, you want to get a really good comprehensive idea as to what the Madlab School of Thesis is, or business is. And then like their thesis and how they run at the business, and the coaches make professional salaries and all they have in careers. Go listen to it. Tom did a great job doing a rundown on that. But that's essentially, just for everyone listening, that's what Craig's referring to. Kind of like you just went back and you took a business that was doing well, but like every business, you got to go through every now and then. You got to spit shine that thing. You got to pull out the old wiring, put in new wiring, all that.
Every 2 or 3 years, yeah. We were trying to be who I hated, which was volume and automations and just the machine's going to do it, and it's fucking bullshit.
Infusionsoft and all that.
Yeah. I mean, the Infusionsoft got so complex that we couldn't do anything with it ourselves. We had to hire consultants and pay them $2,000 a month just to add courses and stuff. It was beyond bizarre. So I got rid of all that. Got rid of all the systems. It's really simple stuff, and we have consultants that know how to run the gym. They have their own successful gyms, and they've been doing it for a long time. I think I had a lot of people that were really good people, but unless you've walked the walk, it's all bullshit. I mean, the thing about our model is if you never did it, you can't really fake it. You know what I mean? Every little situation that happens, we've seen it, and you need to have those on the ground responses for it to be effective. A little background on us, I started in 2004, and we just did this like big clinical trial for years and years and years, and we just followed a different model completely. And I'll take you back if you got a chance for me to spin a story here. This has been sitting on my chest for a few years, maybe a long time. But in 2004, when you went down to CrossFit HQ, and I don't want to sound like we're just so CrossFit centered, because we got, like, in our organization, we've got gymnastics, movement, powerlifting, even got dance studios. I've had yoga and Pilates studios. I think the industry as a whole, there's a lot of ways to get fit, and the protocol, I mean, at the end of the day, whether your business is going to be successful or not, I really don't think the protocol makes any difference. You could be teaching pinochle, and if you got, the right model in place, you can be successful. And if there was such a thing as the greatest fitness protocol ever, it was supposed to be CrossFit. And I've been told that 85,000 have changed hands since 2010, right? So anyway, 2004, you get down there, it's like this massive think tank. There was absolutely no dogma. There was no trademark. There was no, you got to follow this. It was a think tank of figuring out how to get people fit, right? And I don't know if you were even around, but those were message boards, and everybody would argue in the message board. You try something out, you get a result, and this was going on. And Greg was making all these money from the journal, and every month he had to write a new article for people to want to buy the journal. And that was the source, and his gym. And that was a hard grind for him. And for 2 or 3 years when I opened up, I had all of Canada, and then I had like 25-mile territories around each location and all this kind of stuff, right? And it was a non-for-profit. He declared it as a non-for-profit, and I don't know anybody's ever said any of these things, but this is what he was saying back then, and there was only a few of us around.
And you guys would just get on calls, right? Like you guys would just get on phone calls together and just have a conference call with you and like the 4 other fucking affiliates, correct?
Yeah, that happened all the time. I mean, I talked to Greg every second or third day. It was like, I was just personally training people. I was charging $5 an hour to learn the craft. I mean, Greg was an amazing personal trainer. He was amazing. He was amazing with people, and he'd been doing that for like 30 years of his life. And that'll burn you out. Like, that's a tough living. I mean, you go take a vacation, you get $0, right? I mean, that's the biggest problem. If you get hurt, you're fucking done. Yeah. You got to take a six month off, or 3 months, or even break a leg, or you get COVID, you're done, right? Yeah. So so he was trying to get out from under, but the ideas he put out, but the people around there, it was just crazy, man. Like, My best friend, the whole thing at the time, was he'd been a murder trial lawyer for 30 years, Dan McDougall, and the dude, right? And he was the godfather of the South. And then there were guys we had the, the jiu-jitsu champion for, North America. And then there was like Delta guys and SEALs. And most of the SEALs were assholes, but there were a few good ones.
How did all these elite people find Greg? Because again, if you're a badass like BJ Penn, I know, we work
Penn.
with. Yeah,
Chuck,
like how do those...
Chuck Liddell,
yeah.
All that stuff.
Like how do they find a 5'5" cripple that doesn't look like he can do anything? Now again, I think Greg, like when I
hate saying that word, and you can't say that word, dude. That's
say
tough.
What, cripple?
You're going further than me now.
Oh yeah. Trust me, cripple doesn't even hit the Richter scale of on this show. But Greg is on my Mount Rushmore of coaches, 100%, and what he's done for the fitness industry. But I've always been curious, and you were around. How does he get linked up with the kind of elite?
He can fucking talk, man. He can talk. Like, he can talk. You meet naturals in a bar that can talk to girls? I thought I was pretty good at it. I was nothing. That guy can talk. He can sweet talk for lack of a word, the skirt off anybody. Yeah. And people would just come and listen to him talk. It was him orating, and they weren't even certs or anything back then. They were just him orating. I'd go down there every month. And then they became sort of like pseudo certs. Maybe you paid $300 and there was like 8 people there. It was crazy. And that, as the thing got along, it really was like building Netscape or building Firefox or Linux. It was a what do you call it? When all the community shares the information and everything.
It was all really synergistic. It was all built
shareware,
What
open source. So
open source.
He had me on I had a book every week. I had to go read a book almost every week, and it was like F.A. Hayek and Milton Friedman, the Chicago fucking School of Business. It would be one whole thing, which is pretty right wing and libertarian stuff. And it was too. Eventually I learned that it was that stuff. Everybody who's a libertarian, they think they hit a home run, but they were born on third base with a lead. You know what I mean? It was like it was crazy to watch.
I'm curious, back in the day, because one of the things, and you can't find it anymore on any message boards, but one of the things early on in the day, a lot of people criticized Greg because he never gave credit to maybe the Pat O'Shea's or like these guys that were doing some kind of interval weight training. They were doing things that definitely looked reminiscent of how CrossFit got put together, right? I don't believe in new ingredients. No. I just believe in unique recipes. Greg had a unique recipe. Yeah. Did Greg ever talk about his influences and how he got there, or was it all just this came from my genius?
Wow. It's like Led Zeppelin. Like every song came from Led Zeppelin, you know what I mean? Like, so Greg would never give anybody credit. And if you look at the people back then, there was like Mark Ripito was hanging around there. They had Len, probably the top guy in the universities. They had one of my guys from here from SFU writing articles. They had Mike Rutherford. I mean, they had some of the top coaches in the world. They even got who was that crazy Alpine guy? Jim Jones.
Oh yeah, Mark Twight.
So he would get all them, and he would cajole them somehow. He was so charming to come out into the thing, and then he would take their information, sort of put it in. The Dynamax guys, they had all the 10 general physical skills came from Dynamax.
Sure.
Right? The med balls. And then Greg stole it was his own, you know what I mean? So these guys would come in and they would do their testimony how great CrossFit was, and then he would shoot them in the head next, right? And that was one after the other, and you start going, then Rob Wolf brought in
the
his
black
stuff.
box. Remember the black box incident way back in the day?
Yeah, all those things. I mean, it was, but that happened later. And the early days, we were all this big family, and we would get drunk on Saturday nights, and we would wrestle and fight and, throw beer bottles over the roof. And it was a rowdy crew. And then we'd get up in the morning and work out and puke. And, I was an ex-hockey player. I was into that shit. And it wasn't terribly sustainable, but I mean, the friendships we made and the people we met, and it was a think tank. It really was a think tank. And Greg was awesome. Greg was awesome back then. And then something fundamentally changed around 2006, 2007. So Greg was opening up this school. It was going to be like all the shit we did in Vancouver, get an accredited school and get people through the school and train them how to do this properly. He was doing that. And then the city of Santa Cruz shut him down. Right? Bam. He shut down, and then his fucking gym business license came under scrutiny, which I faced all that later. And he just left. He just like, fuck it. He left the gym, closed it down, and he moved to Prescott on one of those zero down loans. And, everything changed fundamentally because he figured out that this chasing excellence in the gym thing and this open source thing and the trying to make money from the journal was nonsense. He started realizing he could make a lot of money on the 2-day cert, right?
Yeah.
2-day certs and selling licensing fees. I mean, I paid $500 back then. It was just a tip of the cap. And the certs, I don't know if I might have paid $300 or $500 for the first one and never paid again. And they were super generous people. It was unbelievable to see the flip. And maybe it was just like, I'm sick of being generous and fuck it. As I remember, he was 48 and I was 33, and I was just like, man, how come this stuff hasn't come up before? He's like, man, I've been too generous and I've been a pussy. I'm done with it. You know what I mean? I haven't told anybody this stuff. So the part I really want to get to is like 2006 and 7 is when it flipped. And then the focus wasn't excellence in the gym. And the focus wasn't open source and everybody's ideas being shared. That all went away. And Rob Wolf was fucking warning us all about it, throwing up the warning bells, and we didn't really understand it. Rob understood it perfectly, and he got thrown out. Then he came back, and then he got thrown out again because it was just like he was showing everybody this is where this is going to go. He's going to strip mine this industry, right? So I
remember when Rob got kicked out and everyone thought that was the end of it. Well, Rob was just on Joe Rogan fucking 4 days ago, whatever. Like, he's doing just fucking fine, right? Like, same thing with Kelly Starrett, same thing with all those guys. Like, all those SMEs that, again, they all came out of the CrossFit ecosystem. I interviewed Kelly about this at nauseum, and it's like they all came from that CrossFit ecosystem, and some of them were just planets that were on their own trajectory. And the sun, CrossFit HQ, at some point just says, "Hey, listen, you're going too far your own trajectory. We got to cut ties." But at that point, they're already becoming their own solar system, their own sun. At that point,
and some of them already were before they came in, and some of them it allowed them an avenue to really blossom and bloom. And, we gave him a lot of leeway for giving the opportunity, but we saw where it was going. And where it was going was the excellence in the gym. He's always talked about just chase excellence, don't chase money. Just chase excellence, don't chase money. And he told us the times that he chased money, and it led him to ruin. And, he was chasing excellence of how to sell the most 2-day certs you possibly can. And when the first signs of this thing started to become, okay, I've been doing 10 personal training sessions with a consult 101 and everything like this before you get into this group thing. And, we all sit around and talk for like every month. And my numbers were, quadruple what everybody else's were. My retention rates was double. Our average client value was probably 50% higher. And our thing was going this way. And our coaches, I tried that, paying them by the hour and giving them a percentage for personal training. And, that it just didn't work very well. It just didn't work very well. And my friends who were engineering with me were my coaches, and they're like, "There's no fucking way I'm going to make $80,000 or $100,000 a year with this. There's just no way." And I was like, I had to agree. We did all the math we could, and you couldn't get them over 40 grand, and they would be completely burnt out at that. So it was absolutely unsustainable. It's the same way now. So we were doing this early on, and then Greg was really interested in a business model. He knew the business model that was out there wasn't going to be very good for an excellent gym. He'd worked in them. He worked in Gold's gyms. He managed Gold's gyms. But then when it became about his excellence was 2-day certs and sell as many as he can, he was shocked by the success as anybody. I don't think he ever thought it would become what it became. And it was he made a random decision every day. And it became chasing money. It became 100% chasing money or chasing excellence in how many certs can I sell and how many licenses. And, then he took down all the barriers, took down all the protections, took down all that stuff, and somehow convinced people that it was a good idea to have a cert in your gym so that the guy can open up right across the street for you. These things are, I tell real business people, and I came from corporate America about this, and they're like, man, there's just no way. This is what's going to happen. And it did happen. One thing ate the other, and they all ate each other. But the real inflection point was Groupon. Groupon came around about 2009 or 10, and it was like I was the only guy in town for 5 years, and then other people came out of my gym and they had respect and they knew things to do and not do. And this one guy doesn't know anything. He doesn't absolutely know anything, and he takes the 2-day course, buys his license, and he does a Groupon. 8 sessions for $19.99, right? CrossFit. I've been there for 7 or 8 years, and it was always 10 sessions for minimum of $750, and the rates are now it's $1,000, this kind of thing. And he goes on, he sells 472 of these things in 8 hours. They had to turn it off. What do you think happens next, dude?
Yeah. I mean, Groupon obviously put a lot of bad operators out of business. And here's the thing is I've made articles on this. I don't blame the vehicle of Groupon for it. I blame the owner who crafted the option. Because I can even attest to it. So in 2000, I think I signed on for Groupon early, probably around 2011, 12-ish kind of timeline. And I had this 7:30 block. I was in this downtown area, and 7:30, I couldn't get any of these 25 to 36-year-olds to attend because they're out at happy hour, they're doing their thing. But my 4:30, 5:30, 6:30, fucking sold out, 25, 30 plus people. Couldn't sell 7:30. So when I did my Groupon, and again, this was early on, I was able to make it only people that purchase this thing can come to this 7:30. And I'm like, you know what, let me actually throw in another AM spot. So I had these 2 spots that didn't exist. I sold same thing, 250 of these fucking things in 48 hours. Only 30% get claimed, but I still collected the cash on it, which, most people don't realize only 30% of Groupons ever get cashed in. Most people hold and they never use. But again, that was really smart. That worked beautiful for us. And we retained what we could, and whatever didn't. But at the same time, it created fire on a class time I was trying to go. There was some benefits to it. So I hear what you're saying, and I agree. I think Groupon fucked a lot of people, but I don't blame Groupon. I blame bad operators.
I'm getting somewhere. I would say that thing didn't help you at all and actually hurt you. You would not ever be able to produce a professional coach with a Groupon. It's not going to happen. Zero chance of producing a professional coach that's going to make $80,000 to $100,000 a year and last 20 years. It's not. It depends on how you're measuring it. Worked great for you. There was a cash influx. I mean, if we did that, there were coaches, they'd all quit. They'd just go, fuck you, and we're done. And that nice sustainability is now finished. But anyway, the point I want to get to is that, okay, but 478 people, 200 of them called us. And they were like, want to come from my session. We were like, what are you talking about? $20 for 8 sessions? $2 an hour? It took us a while to figure out what had happened. And then they got so mad at us, and people were fucking CrossFit this and that. Anyway, we just left a message saying, hey, this is how the thing works, and it's not a franchise, and we just got fucked too. But what happened was so many people just came in a rush, and you could open up a CrossFit affiliate, put a sign over the door, and 100 people would come in a month, 100 new people, right? If you had your own business, and you're a personal trainer, and you had a couple of coaches and you got 100 clients, it looks like a dream. But all the systems are now set up to take 100 people. They're set up to win in day 1, right? They're not set up to win in year 1, year 3, year 5, year 10. If I took your advice, Stu, and I started podcasting with a bunch of our clients, and I said, what would you do if I gave you 100 clients? He said, I wouldn't take them, right? I asked my physiotherapy the other day, just prepping for this. I said, he's opening up a new physiotherapy clinic. And he's like, how are you going to start it? And this and that. I think it's just going to be me. And I'm going to figure out the systems. And I'm going to do all this stuff. And I got my consultant. And then I'm going to bring on one physio at a time. I go, that's very smart. What if I could give you 100 clients right now? What would you do? He was like, scratch his head. Nothing. I would take 5 of them. And I was like, oh, you mean you wouldn't take 4 brand new physios out of college and give them fucking 20 clients each? He goes, no, that'd be disaster. My reputation would be ruined today, and I'm done, right? Which is now, CrossFit comes out with their level 2 cert. What is it? They tried it out in my gym first. He wanted to sell me on it, and me and our coaches looked at it and go, after the first break, we're like, if we did our business like this, we'd be bankrupt in 6 months.
So were they talking business models back then?
No. Well, they were showing you the business model. The business model is, I got to train 7 people right now. It's your first day, and it's snatch day.
Yeah.
Or it's fucking squat day. So you're sitting there like a maniac running around from one person to the next person to the next person to the next person, training 7 people at a time, right?
Do you think that, and again, your model, and again, for everyone who hasn't picked up on this, Patty and I've always referred to this as PT first. Patty's model for business, that in what he does with other microgyms, is he educates them as to, if you want to give a sustainable, livable wage, you got to have an onboarding of PT one-on-one at a high dollar amount. And then this is how you're going to have higher retention, higher client value, professional coaches, so on and so forth. Do you believe that CrossFit, being the most complex fitness program in the history of any program that's ever come out of fitness, is the reason that PT, in your eyes and many other people's eyes, mine included, was such a necessity if you were going to go with this high complex? If you're going to snatch and kick upside down to a wall and get up on rings that are 8 feet up in the air, you cannot do that with 7 people at one time and teach them how to do that. It's irresponsible, morally, ethically wrong from a fitness professional. But let's say Glassman never got into Olympic weightlifting. He never got into advanced gymnastics. And it was slam balls, kettlebells, dumbbells, a little barbell, running, and erg. Do you still feel that the PT first model would have been such a differentiator?
100%. It works all over the place. It works in yoga, works in dance. I mean, look at all the dance studios that have come and gone in the last 100 years. Who's left? Arthur Murray. How do they do it? They do 20 one-on-one sessions before you get in the group.
Sure, but I think if we polled 1,000 people and I said, hey, are you good at dancing? We'd find 5 people out of fucking 1,000, okay?
But it's more than that. It's the relationships that are built, Stu. And it's the assessment. I say it's having someone in your corner. I don't give a fuck if it's pinochle, right? If there's any skill to it, and there's any skill to it at all, other than maybe you got to teach someone to hop on one leg, I think it still works hopping on one leg.
I'm all for it. And I think I know you know this. We look at the fitness industry, Globo Gym, Gold's Gym, Lifetime Fitness. They just laid out all the selectorized equipment and they made fitness that anyone from any skill set and any training age can come in and do instantly. And when you go from that Globo Gym for 25 fucking years, I mean, the very first fucking Gold's Gym is in Venice Beach, only 25 years prior to CrossFit, 30 years prior to CrossFit. And when we go ahead and think about that, this entire society has been educated. Oh, going to the gym isn't a skill set. You just go to the gym and do your thing. CrossFit shows up with the most complex movements in the world. And now people are entering thinking it's the same low barrier. I can just pop it and do this. And I think that's where you were the minority telling CrossFitters, hey guys, just stop it for a second. Do you realize how crazy it is, the shit we're teaching people? I mean, we're teaching people movements that are done only by Olympians. Every 4 years, we're literally teaching these movements to people who expect to just get started. And that's, I think, where, like, again, a lot of CrossFitters might have had a hard time picking up what you were putting down when you were talking PT first back then.
Well, I mean, PT first is one part of it. We have 9 laws. PT first is 2 of 9, right? And we get to the end of this, I could go through them, but what I'm saying is, it doesn't really care what my opinion is or what anybody else's opinion is. Go test it. We've been fucking testing this for a long time. I tested it over 1,600 gyms for 18 months with Zen Planner, and I can show you the graphs of exactly how it works. How retention, average client value, work, and coach dollar per coach hour, coach pay, and profit. I can show you exactly. Okay, let's do a fucking put someone straight into a group class. Let's follow how that person does. Across 1,600 gyms, 90% of them are gone in a year, right? Let's do a little Groupon ramp. Maybe if it's less than 5 people, you might save 30%. 70% are gone. And that's the industry. Like, the industry's fucking failed, Stu. You know? Only 4% of them got a gym membership, and we got fat people running around fucking everywhere. Why is that? Because no one respects the industry. If you go talk to doctors and lawyers and electricians and anybody who fucking worked for their job and got excellent at it as a tradesman or a professional, it took them fucking years to get good at it. Some kid that just got a 2-day fucking cert, or some kid working at F45 or Orange Theory, they don't know what the fuck they're doing, and they leave the industry before they ever do. And the next company comes along and they do exactly the same thing that CrossFit does, right? Selling franchises, right? So it's all set up for like, take a look at F45's, Orange Theory, fucking Soul Cycle, Barry's Boot, all that shit is all set up for the fucking client to fail, the coach to fail, and the gym owner's gonna fail. Who wins? You know, dude, I know people right now selling F45 and Orange Theory franchises, and I talk to them. Yeah. They don't give a fuck. They get $50,000 for selling that franchise, and the guy's a real estate agent. He doesn't know shit, right? So every system's set up to take the 400 people.
Correct. When you say the
right?
client fails, I want you to extrapolate that for people. Like, what do you mean by that? Because I see, because like, same thing. I have to work with some franchises. I work with the independent microgym, and that independent microgym owner who got in this because they like people and they're passionate about fitness. They want to see someone succeed, whatever the definition of that is. There are also people in the market who are not looking for anything more in fitness than I want to go. I want to have a good workout. I want it to be entertaining. I want it to be safe. And I want to leave and get on with the rest of my life. And I'd like to do that 3 to 4 times a week. I don't want fitness to be something that saves my life because I don't need my life being saved right now. I don't want it to be something that I'm constantly elevating and progressing. I have no personal performance goals. I just want to go in and sweat. And I'm more of a casual fitness goer. So when you talk about the clients lose, are we referring to clients who have higher aspirations for themselves in fitness?
I'm talking about 70% of the people that walk. If you got 100 people that walk into that gym, or you got 100 people today, 70% of them are gone at the end of the year. That's it. You can dress it up that there's, this mythical 30% that never leaves, or the 10% that rotate around that are professional fucking exercisers, but that's not going to change society, and that's not going to really help your business, and the coaches can't make a living off of it.
Where do you think they go?
Right?
So if they leave the gym, where are they going next? Are they quitting fitness, or are they going to the next thing?
I think the 70% that leave are going nowhere. Going back to the fucking couch.
And I think it's possible. And again, it depends on the market. So I'm in Charlotte, right? I literally within 4 miles have probably 10 of the top fitness boutiques in the country. And when you look at that, I know the market is nomadic. It's very much like the microbrewery market. I don't know if microbreweries have gotten really big in Vancouver, but there's fucking
they're killing my rent, man. My rent's gone from $6,000 a month to $22,000 a month.
Dude, I get it.
10 years.
There's fucking 36 of them in Charlotte, and it's like that. Like I love this one brewery, but I'll bounce around and hit some other ones depending where my friends are at, or one has a band on Wednesdays. And I see a lot of that. ClassPass, I think, put the exclamation point on that. But I see a lot of younger fitness. Again, when you're young and healthy, you look pretty good naked, you don't have any serious health issues. Fitness for you is more of a social aspect than it is a very serious pursuit. And then when you get into the 40 and 50-year-olds who are diabetic, hypertension, need to lose 30 pounds, just had 2 kids, now you can really save someone's life and have a client for life, quote unquote, or have them for a very long-term period. But I think there's also just a lot of markets. I mean, I can attest to mine included, that's nomadic. And fitness for them is simply 3D Tinder. It's a place to meet other mates, young single people, and it gives them something to do. So when they go to that pool party on Saturday, they don't look like shit in the Instagram photo.
Not interested in those people whatsoever. You can go keep on doing that. All I gave a shit, right?
And that's why
the position I'm coming from, if you're going to open up, if you're an independent gym owner, right? You own the thing. You should own your brand. Building somebody else's brand and they can set up a gym right beside you or take it from you or anything like that is ludicrous in this day of age.
I agree.
You should have a business, you should have a client development model that keeps the clients, right? Our model, we know, keeps 80% of the people, right? Year over year over year. And you should be a professional. I mean, for our thing, we're looking for the best people. We're looking for high performing people to own the gyms. Like, it's not the easiest thing in the world at one point was to open a CrossFit gym. I mean, $3,000, 2-day course, put them right into a group class, pay a coach $20 an hour, boom. Couldn't be anything simpler, but it couldn't be anything. I mean, I know one of the things you like to ask us, and you ask Tom, it's hard, but I'll tell you what's hard. Running that business 5 years and 10 years later, that's hard, right? I mean, you're looking at a wasteland. I mean, I don't know anybody that gets out of there. They're an independent gym owner, and their whole life is on the line, and they eventually bump up to a number. They can't get any more clients. The coaches, they eventually leave as they can't make enough money, and they're there holding the bag for years and years and years and years and years. And Stu, that's happened to at least 10,000 people just in that space. And they sell the gym as a fire sale and they go do something else.
And I hope everyone picks up what Patty said there. And the number one reason I remember initially, even when you were doing Gym and Ain't Easy and all the old school shit, the very first thing I always respected and I thought I always knew I liked about Madlab, you guys invested in HR. That's my biggest thing. Like when a gym owner, I'm like, you realize you need to invest in that in the people to grow the business for you. Every gym owner wants to be fucking Superman, work 75 hours a week for 5 years, and then it just jadedness and burnout hits them like this.
Oh, yeah.
You've always set up a system
Thousands of them.
that places an emphasis on, no, we are going to do everything in our possible, the hard things, the very hard things, to ensure these coaches get paid well. And that's my biggest thing. Every gym, anyone I work with that does well, maybe they do $1 million a year, they're doing 500 or more, and they've got a good margin and they're doing well, regardless of what kind of model they're running. They've placed emphasis on HR. They're not running a bunch of part-timers kind of scenario. They've got a core group of people who are there full time. Now, will they be there in 5 years? Who knows? But at the least,
if they let's say they want to take a 3-week vacation, they still getting paid.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, again, there's going to be variations to this whole thing. Like, I don't know. Hopefully, I would also say too, in the model, and I talked to Tom a lot about this. My thing is always this: when we make career coaches, I believe very, 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 very few people want to be a career coach unless they can make career coach money. Like lawyers,
that's right.
They're a lawyer every day for fucking 30 plus years. However, in year 15, they become partner. And now they only take on choice clients, right? And they have a few whatever. And then in year fucking 20, they're really just, they're barely there. They're there to fucking, help find the next brood of lawyers, that kind of scenario. Doctors, you're a doctor for 80 plus years. Being a coach for fucking 20 years, there's also a wear and tear to that again, I hope we get to the point where that does happen, where they're making professional wages and people give the respect to the fitness industry and real fitness professionals, not fake ones that got a weekend certain, but real fitness professionals who put in their 10,000 hours of Gladwell to fucking be great at this thing. I hope we get there. I just also see coaches at some point wanting to ascend to higher levels. They eventually want to coach coaches, and then they eventually want to do this thing, and then they want to write a book and do public speak. Like, everyone is wanting to ascend what it is they do over time. What do you think about that for the actual fitness professional? For someone, like, what does that ascension look like? Are you really going to be 55 and showing up for that 6 a.m. client?
Well, we got it right now. So it's interesting. I've got 4 coaches that have been over 15 years with me. Yep. They're all summers between 70 and 110,000. And in Vancouver, it crept up on us. That was really good 5 years ago. 10 years ago, it was great. Now, the shittiest single detached home in our neighborhood, which is an immigrant neighborhood, it's like the average household income is $73,000. The average home is $2 million. A fucking townhouse is $1,100 a square foot. Do the math on that, right?
Interesting. So, well, then my question. Let me volley it back to you.
Let me finish. So, I mean, we need to recreate ourselves again. Like, my rent, like I said, has gone from $6,000 to $20,000. More, and we need to recreate ourselves again. So we just hired Greg Mack, who's our sales trainer for Madlab Business for the last 10 years. He does this, it's team building and leadership thing, and we're stripping apart everything now to figure out how I keep these guys and how these guys can make it to their 60 and retire, right? I mean, if we lived in a regular town, if we were in Omaha, Nebraska, no problem. If I was in Chicago, no problem. If I was in Charlotte, no problem. In Vancouver, it's fucking brutal, man. It is more than brutal. But I mean, at the end of the day, what we're figuring out now is, how do we do team bonuses? How do we do team things? How do we now become a $400 a month professional coaching service and take this thing to a whole nother level? And we're making the relationships with the doctors, with the physios. I mean, people talk about this healthcare crisis. They're not going to ClassPass. They're not going to, anybody with any kind of an issue over the age of 40 is not going to any of those group exercise things. It's not going to happen. And that's where we really need to be putting our focus. And as I get older, that's where I put my focus. But I still come back to, if you're like Orange Theory or whatever, and you're getting a transient thing, and you've done a ton of marketing, and you got all the branding and all that stuff, the guy that owned that thing's still fucked. 5 years from now, and all that stuff gets old, and he's got $80 a square foot walk-by traffic, he's done. And if you're an independent gym owner and you're trying to mimic F45 or Orange Theory, you're missing the point. They've already lost. The people that made the money are the ones who sold the franchise, right? The gyms don't ever make any money. They might make some money in the first few years, but they got to pay off that equipment, pay that high rent. I know them as I'm talking to them right now. We've had the first generation F45 owners 7-8 years ago in Australia, and I saw all the problems. I got the next generation now we're talking to that bought 3 of them, and I'm like, you know what I said? And they're the same people selling the franchise, and they're setting up new franchises right beside the ones they own, right?
Yeah.
Because there's so much money in the franchise, right? And I say, listen, if you don't get out of this business in 3 years, you're going to be holding a giant steam of shit. And they're like, yeah, we're starting to see that. We bought something here we didn't really understand. I go, you bought something that's not set up to succeed in year 5.
It's interesting. Right? I've obviously deep dived into the world of franchising in the past probably 4 to 5 years. Yeah. And you see the scale, what I call the scale to IPO models. F45, those guys, Exponential Fitness, all their brands that explosive growth. I believe there's the name winner is the franchisor. Okay, right? The franchisor 100%. Company. The second one is going to be, because most people don't realize Tom Jones isn't opening an F45. It's Dr. Tim, Dr. John, lawyer. It's 6 or
real
7
estate agents, people that work middle management in like Aritzia. It's like people that think they're business people, and they don't have a clue how the industry really works.
They have $100,000. Everybody throws in. It's a co-op, essentially, owns it. They never work a day in it. Now, again, but that's why, because that's the difference. And for everyone listening, when you buy a franchise, you are spending that much money because you don't want to figure out yourself. For whatever reason, either you got sold on the phone or you believe in the proof of concept. You want the playbook done for you. You want to pull the certain levers. And that's why franchise disclosure docs are as thorough and as fucking, the S1 documents get released when they go public and you have to expose everything. But those FDD docs, they lay out and they have to say, this is what you can expect. Like, this is what we've seen. This is our proof of concept. And that's the thing with the franchises. And again, we're starting to see the small tier franchises that are going to stay high double digits. Maybe they're going to trickle over to the 100 mark. But where the real winners in a lot of those, and I truly believe, it's not going to be the scale IPO. I believe there's small organizations that have a unique model. They have something that's pretty cool that is marketable. And they can get other people to pay to be a part of that through a license or through a franchise. And I think if you could stay small and not try to go IPO on it, I think there's opportunity.
Are they still trying to bring in 50 people in a month, 20 people in a month?
Yeah,
if I can say one thing, like, I don't believe in any of it, because the client development process is not developed to retain the client for fucking 5 years. The client development process is not developed for the coach to make $75 or $100 an hour at the end of the day. It's not designed for the coach to win, and at the end of the day, it's not designed to be sustainable. It's not. It's to sell another franchise. And I haven't seen any of them that can convince me otherwise, unless they are willing to have a client development, coach development, owner development process that takes time for people to become excellent. It's like if we had me and you were selling a franchise for electricians. And we said, okay, we're going to go take 100 fucking jobs as an electrician. We're going to take 10 guys at a school. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, man. It's a 5-year fucking apprenticeship to be any good at it.
Now, do you believe that does that extend to other industries? Because I can sit here and say, okay, let's say you and me owned a Michelin 5-star restaurant. Now, the average waiter at a Michelin 5-star restaurant is going to make almost $80,000 a year. They're fucking going to.
I know some that make $100. Yeah.
Okay. Now, the people that come to a Michelin restaurant, there is the fucking pre-meal, the pre-meal number 2. There's the next one. I mean, it's a fucking thing. It is the purest, kind of how you talk about, the client journey for food. However, Chipotle still fucking kills it.
Yeah, if you're talking about a product there now, and I'm trying to talk about a professionalization. They can all exist. Like, I want to crush it. What I want to do is I want to crush it in the minds of the independent gym owner that you can run your gym like that and be successful. And there's still people that attack me for saying, maybe you should do a fucking evaluation on the client that comes in, not throw them straight into a group class. I mean, if you want your business to last 5, 10, 15, 20, and have something that you can sell, you need to have clients to stick around. You need to have coaches that fucking make a professional wage and stick around. Or your F45 and Orange Theory and curves, and they don't work for the coach or the gym owner. They just don't, man. They work for the fucking guy selling the license or selling the franchise. And I firmly believe that 100% after looking at this thing for 18 years, Stu. And someone would have to show me a model where a guy bought a franchise or a license, and 10 years later, here he is. He's got 80% of his clients sticking around. He's got his coaches making a wage where they can own a home and have a family, and the gym owner's making 20% EBITDA, and he's not pulling his hair out. I don't see it. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, well, I would definitely say, there's definitely there's been success. Would you agree that there have been unicorns?
Short-term successes. People build a number up and sell that gym when it's a right opportunity to make money for the gym owner. That happens lots of times. You say, oh, I sold mine for $1 million.
Yeah,
right.
So so there are CrossFit affiliates that have done this for over a decade, and they hit all the metrics that you said, and they are a CrossFit. Maybe they're.
I would love to talk to them. I haven't met any of them yet.
I mean, I gotta pair you up. I just got done doing an interview with a client I've had forever, CrossFit Grandview. They do over $1 million a year. They've got full-time staff. He just bought a $2.2 million building. He's been doing this.
Where are they?
He was Columbus, Ohio.
I'd love to talk to him because he must have a client development process and a coach development process that looks a million times different than the CrossFit model.
It's funny because I call him, he's an unapologetic CrossFit gym. He's the old school kind of thing done much better. At the end of the day, everything will work. I agree with you though, on a professionalization, like having staff, going back to the HR investment, that's going to allow them to, succeed for the family and things like that. I do agree, where Madlab and where your whole ethos is right on the money. I want to go to that sale concept. Do you really think there's a lot of gyms, even if they have like what you've created, is there a market? Who is buying used gyms right now?
Well, if you can show it 5 years of the same staff and at least 3 years of the EBITDA that you're selling it at, you can sell it at 5 times EBITDA. There are banks that will sell at that, and we facilitate a few sales a year from experience.
In post 2020.
Oh, well, fuck, right now.
Yeah,
there's no point selling now.
Correct, yeah. So
it's the worst time to sell ever.
Correct. No. I've been telling anyone, because I do a lot of these mediations for A&Ms, and I'm like, for the next 5 years, you better not be thinking about getting any traditional bank financing. You're going to need private equity to do it.
Why would you want to sell now? It's at the all-time low. I mean, you can't.
And so you know how most gym owners are not really selling businesses; they're selling a lease and equipment. That's really all.
Yeah, I mean, because they don't have. I mean, for it to be EBITDA, everybody needs to be paid, and it needs to run itself. I mean, how many gyms in the CrossFit space? It was the gym owner with some, a few guys taking classes, or even some coaches that were taking 10 or 15 hours a week, and the thing doesn't make any money because it has. The Dunbar number is 100 people, and it doesn't matter how many more people you get in. You get 20 in, 20 out, because the only one responsible is the gym owner. The coaches are getting paid by the hour, man. They show up, give their all-star performance, and leave. They're not responsible for retention.
Sure.
Right? You need somebody responsible for retention other than the gym owner. And I apologize for my tone. It still freaks me out that independent gyms want to run like you would CrossFit in 2010, because it was set up so that Greg could sell as many licenses as possible, and you need to be able to take on, guess what, 50 new clients in a month. And if you look at, like, the last time we met, we talked about the 6-week challenge. How many thousands of gyms poured into that and had just a horrible experience? I think 3,000 or 4,000 of them, because I'll get you 50 leads a month. Well, what happened? We tracked it. It was like 97% churn rate after a year. And we talked about that.
Yeah.
Because the client development process is completely fucked. And they were lying to people at the door. It's a deposit. Oh no, it's free. Yeah, and all those things. I'm just thinking. All I'm saying is, Stu, there's place in fitness for all kinds of things. But if you're an independent gym owner and you want this thing to be sustainable, and you want to feel good about yourself and be ethical, there's a way to do it that's completely different than what you've been told to do it, right?
You're not wrong on that, and I think that's why I've always had respect for what it is you guys do, and I love it. And I think a lot of gyms, because there's a lot of gyms that really they bite on the PT first, and that's always my initial concept. Like if you're really 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 into that, I know a guy. He's a bit controversial, but he's a good fucking time. You're gonna want to talk to him, and But I want to ask you this, because now I'm curious. I want to kind of go back to the origin. We were talking a lot about last week.
Yep.
What was your thoughts on Rosa and then Rosa's exit? And there's a lot of whispers right now. Sean Pastuch just had Austin Malleolo and Greg Gaines, two high up guys for the affiliate world right now. There's a lot of chatter that CrossFit's going to really amplify the business support as much as they can as a United States license model. And then eventually we're going to see that price go up. Like if you were sitting back and you and me are just having 2 bourbons, 3 bourbons, and we're predicting, where do you see this going? And what have you thought about some of the chess moves that have happened with CrossFit since Greg's exit?
It's a great question. I mean, to be the honest answer is, this thing in 2004 was Secretariat. It was unbelievable. It was amazing, right? And they did everything they possibly could to flog that thing to death. I mean, if you take a brand that started off as a grassroots movement, some guys trying to figure out how to get fit that was free, and then you basically give it to anybody who can take a 2-day course, and they can Groupon the shit out of it. You can 6-week challenge it. I mean, the retention rates of the clients, it's pretty much it's 70 to 80% a year churn. So you just imagine how many people are going through that thing. The coaches didn't make any money. That was about every 18 months they're churning. The business owners, 85,000 have changed hands. I mean, the whole thing was set up, man, if you look at it, right? And you look at how many affiliates they are, it was as fast as they could possibly get as many affiliates out there as possible. Put them on top of each other. Have them all eat each other. We don't care, right? You really couldn't have done it any worse if you want to crush your brand. All that money came in. Greg made $250 million in 2010 to when he sold. Like, that's what they took in. And they had just a skeleton crew. And, the 10-year anniversary thing, people are like, I can't get a client to come in anymore. And what did you do? And Greg got up and said the same thing he said 15 years ago. They don't have a clue what's going on in the gym. Not a clue. There's no such thing as excellence in the gym. Greg was following excellence of selling 2-day certs and licenses. And that's what they became excellent at. And just let me finish. Just let me finish. So I talked to Eric, and I was like, man, it's already done. You look at, there was 50 or
when
75.
Was this? When did you guys talk?
I talked to him probably within a month. Like Rob Wolf said, you got to talk to Craig. You got a problem with these CrossFit gyms from the business side of things that you don't understand. Okay. So I talked to him, and he was convinced they didn't have a problem because hold on, before I get there. So the money's already all gone, man. Greg's made all the money and left, which is my whole point. F45, Orange Theory are replicating the same thing. They're selling that license. They'll find someone to buy it if they can pre-sell 400 members, right? And then God help you what happens after that, because it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. The business model that all those CrossFit gyms, and we got attacked. I mean, I got fucking attacked and sued and beaten telling the truth. And I just don't care anymore. Because I know it's 100% the truth. So Eric bought something he had I think it was an ego project, to be honest. He bought something, and I talked to him and I said, listen, man, your client development, coach development process is infantile. It is completely infantile, and it hasn't gone anywhere, ever. And everything's ossified in 2004 or 5 or 6. And Greg chased and battered and smashed anybody that was going to interfere with him selling more and more and more. There's affiliate license. It's like moth. If you ever watch bacteria in a closed space, right? They grow like crazy until they run out of oxygen. The thing ran out of oxygen in 2014 or 15, and it come back to life. Like, the New You Challenge wouldn't exist if the system worked, right? You couldn't get a fucking lead off your website. You couldn't find a new client by 2015. So what? The New You Challenge comes in, bam! It's an unbelievable opportunity. There's 8,000 gyms sitting empty. Right? And they'll take 50 people. I mean, if I offered any one of my coaches, any one of my clients, anybody in our systems, I'll give you 50 clients. I'd be like, fuck you, I don't want 50 clients. Right? Especially if you start a new gym. I mean, that is going to be your culture forever. That is going to be your excellence forever. That's going to be your reputation. You should take one person, make that fucking person excellent, take the second one. That is excellence. And that's what we've been doing for 18 years. And it makes me angry that people think you can take 50 clients and you don't know anything. Like, it's fucking ridiculous. So anyway, Eric Rosa has bought Secretariat after it's gone through 14 owners, and it's been dragging cannons through the fucking field for the last 7 years, and it's almost dead. and he didn't realize it because all the money has been done. They sold every 2-day cert they could, and they signed up every license fee they could. Nobody comes in, like, the reputation's cemented in what it is, and it's not good. It's not a professional coaching facility, and it was like fitness for the elite. Taught by a kid with a 2-day course. It's crazy, man. Like, it's fucking crazy, right?
I'm sure Rosa didn't probably divulge, but what do you think has been the drop? Again, obviously COVID, it was so much of it, but what do you think the drop off in that revenue stream for the seminars and all? Like, again, if they turn that back on today, I remember
the seminars used to be 50, 60, 70 a week.
Weekend. Oh, yeah.
I don't know how many there are now, but what are there? One?
And are they in person? Are they? I'm sure they're in person now, but are they remote? So you have this conversation.
Let me just show you one thing here. I don't know if you've done the math. So at one point, I'm sure they're doing 70 a weekend. So 70 times 60 people times $1,000. That's $4.2 million a weekend, bro. And they staffed it, probably cost nothing. The amount of money, like, Greg came in 2000. I've never told anybody this. I just decided a while ago. I sat down and talked to some of my mentors. I said, Craig, you're going to poison yourself if you don't say the truth. Greg offered me $20,000 US a month in 2012 just to shut my mouth about this, right? And I didn't take it. It was fucking late at night, and he bought everybody else around me. And I just said, what would you have me do? And he couldn't come up with it. And then I started asking everybody that had been hired by them. He said, he's going to put you in a corner, and he's going to shame you, and he's going to take away all your dignity and power. And then he's going to gang everybody against you, and then he'll take everything from you. And
so he wanted to pay you off indefinitely so that you didn't bring up where you see this glaring hole in the model.
That's how I saw it. And, there were some other things like on CrossFit.ca and stuff you could throw. I can't talk about those legally, but you could throw that into the mix. And, I'm not here to, Greg, I just don't think he was in control of himself or any of that stuff at some point. And it was like watching your best friend go absolutely fucking mad, And maybe I'm the stupidest guy that didn't take the money, but I am 100% convinced that independent gym owners, putting people straight into a group class and paying a coach $20, $30, $70, $4, $10 an hour is going to fail for everybody. I'm 100%. I've seen it everywhere, all over the place. Right?
You've seen the notes or like the hints or like he's got the book that's supposedly going to come out. Greg's working on that book.
God knows what he's going to say now.
There's an Instagram account that is documenting his kind of process as he creates this book. And I don't know if it's a bio or what it's going to be. I think it's called the CrossFit Book or something like that is the Instagram handle. I was just curious if you caught wind of that yet.
Yeah, I've been told about it. The early days, it was amazing. He was an amazing person. Him and Lauren were super generous. And when that amount of money, and maybe it would happen to me too, when that amount of money flows in and you start getting that kind of notoriety, and, Greg did come from, polio and probably got picked on a lot. I know he had a difficult childhood, and who knows if you could control yourself in the manner. Rob and I and the early people that were there were like, hey, we've got to get ourselves away from that. And the people that stayed close to that, there is some ugly stuff inside of there. And if you talk to Andy Stumpf and some of that stuff he was saying, man, that got really ugly, like scary, ugly stuff. And that amount of money would corrupt. And he knew that he wasn't doing a lot of good for a lot of people. It claimed like everybody made him God and everything. But at the end of the day, how many gym owners' lives were really hurt? How many coaches didn't make any money? And how many people went to the gym had a bad experience? And you know what? I don't know. I kind of want to just say it all and get it off my chest. If anybody asks me to just go watch this podcast because I'm done and moving on. Because what we're doing now is just real simple. When I talked to Eric, I was like, Eric, you should just track your churn in your gym, because he's got his ex-wife has got a big, fancy, I didn't know it was big, fancy, beautiful. Rob told me after. But it's a big, fancy, beautiful gym that people are like, it's the great towels and new equipment and all that stuff. And that thing works for a certain period of time. And I said, you should track it. You know what your churn rate is. He didn't even know what a churn rate was or how to really track it. He didn't know the definition of it. I'm like, okay. And then I was like,
when you said churn rate to him, he didn't understand what that meant.
No, he didn't understand the definition was, I have 100 clients now. How many left a year from now, right? It's the inverse. Fuck, we've been doing this for a long time, man. I got an engineering degree and I work for 2 Fortune 100 companies on systems and sustainability. Like, we've been looking at this for a long time. We've been studying it for a long time, and I know the answers. Like, there's just no two ways about it. I'll show you math. I'll show you 9.8 meters per second when you drop the ball off the fucking roof, right? And I'll show you that here's a way, follow these fundamentals, and you can be successful. The clients will stick around 80%, and you get an average client value that'll supersede your market by probably 50%. The coaches will make more than household income, average household income in your area, probably at 1.5, and the dollar per hour would be something like more than a journeyman electrician. And the business owner needs to make 20% EBITDA without pounding your fucking head against the wall, you know? So anyway, when I talked to Eric, I couldn't get him to track it, or I couldn't convince him he had a problem, just because he had one data point, his wife's gym that's beautiful. You know, he's not studied any of the stuff. I mean, I looked at 1,600 gyms for fucking 18 months. And anyway, and then I couldn't convince him of that. And I was like, okay, what about the coaches? He goes, all of our coaches are useless. No doubt about that. Maybe you could help us train our coaches better. And I go, maybe it's because of the system they're in. Maybe it's because of the way they're paid. They're not paid on performance. They're not paid to retain the clients. Like, not being paid to retain the clients is crazy. You know, you're a business owner. What do you want to happen? You don't want your clients to leave. So you incentivize them to not have the clients to leave. Like, dude, this is baby math, you know?
What?
Anyway.
So when I hear affiliate owners be like, man, I wish CrossFit would, you know, help me out more with the business stuff. And I always have to remind them,
I don't know how to.
Well, let's assume they did. Let's say you literally packaged it up for them and you gave it to Rosa, and Rosa said, this is the greatest thing ever, and I want to get gyms to do this that are CrossFit in the CrossFit ecosystem. And they can only suggest it. It is a franchise, or it is a license. They cannot force you to do it. They would have to present it as best practice, and you could pick it up or put it down. Now, that was leading my question. What would, if you had the chance and you could, because obviously getting this off your chest is feeling good, but you obviously carry around a lot of this in your soul of something you love near and dear that you saw get, you know, you saw the way it was going and you believe.
Saw Secretariat get beaten to death, man.
Correct. Let's say Rosa he's not even, you know, he's on the board now.
Well, he got burned out within 9 months. It was so stressful and trying to figure out what the fuck this thing was, right?
Whoever the new CEO is, whoever Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway put in place there, right? What if they came to you and said, okay, cool, we're going to go ahead and we like your model, Greg. We're going to go ahead and present this to affiliates as this is a best practice type scenario. And because they can't force the gyms to do it. And gyms are then, again, on their own accord, which we both know, a lot of the baby sea turtles don't make it back. They make dumb decisions. They could either leave it or not. Like, what would you love if you got to have your way? What would happen? How would CrossFit, and how would that conversation with Rosa have gone? I mean,
when I said to him, you know, he said to me, my coaches are useless. I'm like, holy God, man, that's the whole thing. It's supposed to be fitness that transformative, and the people that are doing it are useless.
And was he talking about?
I just didn't know what to say. I was flabbergasted. What?
Is he talking about his seminar staff people, or is he talking?
No, he's talking about the coaches in the gym.
Okay, got it.
Right. I mean, the seminar staff are great at teaching people how to do pull-ups and fucking thrusters and stuff like that. But I mean, to think that you can run a business with the model that's set up to take 50 people on the first day, I mean, you're just never going to get there. You're never going to get good at what you do. You're just not going to get good at what you do, which is retaining the clients. Right?
Which comes to quality versus quantity. There's going to be a camp that's always going to argue that quantity and blah, blah, blah is going to be the better business approach.
Yeah, marketing people. They're just going to, I can market and throw 50 people in there and pay someone $15 an hour. I mean, if you do the math on a $200 a month gym, and you're paying the coaches $25 an hour, have you done the math on what percentage that is of the gross revenue?
No, I mean, I got a calculator, but what, on 40 hours a week, or what are you talking about?
No, just a percent. If you said, okay, we got 15 people in a class and we run this many classes, the average person, 200 members, $200 a month, right? So the metrics would be, they come to 3 classes a week on average.
So yeah, 12 times.
Right? 15 people in a class, and you do the math, they're pretty much the standard one, and you could do it around 150 a month, and they pay the coaches 20, and, you know, and it comes out to about 9 to 11%, around 10% is what they get, right? I mean, you take any a service-based industry where they get 10%, I mean, try and find one.
Right? Sure. It's so funny because, you know, everyone touts like a Soul Cycle. Soul Cycle was known for paying those instructors around $150 per class, right? But they also would fill 50 bikes at about $30 to $33 per bike. And so, I mean, like, again, you still come out to this very small percentage of the
right, but that's not sustainable either. They're doing that. I know a coach at 45, and he got to, I don't know, fucking $300 a day, or maybe even $300 a class, because they're paying him $6 a head. But that's not sustainable either, because all they're doing is like, come to the 7 o'clock, man. It's so much better than the 6. They're not out in the world finding new clients and keeping them. All they are is scraping the resources of the clients that are in there and say, come to my class. The coaches kill each other in that. I mean, Greg was doing that in 2004, and I saw them kill each other. You know, he was doing $6 a head, right? Yeah. That's still an infantile thought of looking at it from a sustainability 20-year perspective, right? Anyway,
go ahead.
You know, if Eric Rosa said, yeah, we're going to come do the whole Madlab thing, I'd like, I can't do it. You know what I mean? I would say I can probably take 5 gyms a month. And that's it. And if you want to invest and get professional coaching for people to teach them how to do what Audrey does with gym owners, what Dan does with gym owners, and what Derek and Tom do with coaches, I mean, I got no illusions now. I thought we could at one time. This is why I said I went down the path of thought we could scale this thing up and get 1,000 gyms. It was a stupid thought. I firmly believe that the model we have can save the healthcare industry, and it can make a massive difference in type 2 diabetes. And if you got coaches that are respected like a physiotherapist, which we have our physios talking to our coaches, and they're like, and even they have people that come in and go, who's your coach? Oh, Sheppy. Okay, let me give Sheppy a call. You know, this kind of thing. That connection, a real connection, that the physios, the doctors respect the trainer. That's what I'm into. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do, right? So that's not going to happen in my lifetime, I don't think, Stu. You know, I know is we'll be the last people standing. I've been criticized, land-based. I'm sure we'll get a bunch more after this. All I can tell you is I've seen 7 or 8 waves of being land-basted, and people tell me that I'm full of shit and you can do it, and like all this stuff. And guess what? They're all gone. So wave after wave are gone. I'm still here. Right.
There's a lot of camps, you know, good, you know, active life. You guys, like, where you guys are playing in a role where you truly believe that the fitness coach needs to be at the same level as that doctor, and they need to be able to communicate. There needs to be a level of respect and the same kind of similar pay, that kind of scenario. I have a question on that. With where tech is going, right? With like data that happens and all that, do you see that being involved to help connect doctors and coaches together? Like, technology is going to help bridge that gap? Or is it going to be, hey, Sally, you went to your doctor last week. Can you have him email me what your blood pressure was? Because I want to incorporate that knowledge into your nutrition and training plan.
I really don't believe technology is going to solve the problem. It would have solved this problem long ago. It's been going on for a long time. So, I mean, I think it can help, but it's the relationships that are going to solve it. You know, sure. It's all relationships. For that person, like, we do corporate wellness stuff, and to get Susie, who was 320 pounds on the insulin pump, and that's an extreme example. To get her to come in to the gym, no app's ever going to do it. It's going to be a relationship. You know, I'm actually looking at the Zoom thing. The Noom thing right now is great. So if there's some kind of psychology and a relationship you could do in the app to help, maybe, but maybe I'm not quite understanding your question.
I think maybe what I'm saying is that, you know, the gamification theory is alive and well in everything, right? It could be, it's true that if we gamify everything as humans, whether we inherently know we do it or not, you're driving down the road, you try to cut around someone, like, we just inherently do things. Human beings, most, are somewhat inherently competitive to a degree. So, like, remember when the Fitbit hit the scene and everybody was counting their steps? Now, that's such a silly thing, but it was an action that got it correct. But what I was talking about was, I'm picturing your Madlab coaches needing to have conversations with the healthcare professionals that their clients are working with. Yeah. And the ability now to have data that goes back and forth to the fact of, like, hey, you know, Johnny has been training with us all week, and for some reason his heart rate is fucking low as hell. Even in the middle of a workout, there's something going on with his heart rate, doc. Because now there's just trainers previously could talk about reps and sets and load and how long it takes you to row. Now trainers can, you know, with Whoop and all this other stuff, they can go and say, hey, you know, I want to talk to your doctor because your Whoop shows that you're getting less than 5 hours of sleep a day and your resting heart rate's at 100. What the fuck? So, like, do you think that technology is not going to get this, but it's going to allow communication? Because, again, if you're an MD and you went to school for 8 years, I don't care how professional the coach is, there is a level of education that fucking trainer is not going to have.
we need to hand stuff off to physios too. I mean, we can talk about assess and correct and all this stuff, but I mean, no one in our industry has even got to nerves yet. You know, there's no nerve training yet. I mean, that's huge, and like really good physios understand that. And you know, as far as if we're doing the diabetic thing, we're taking people on that are quite at risk. I mean, we got a guy, Ryan Ferns. I mean, he came and learned everything he could from us, and his model diverged over here, and we were like, yeah, I can't help you anymore, because his coaches are not out in the free world trying to make a living. He's doing basically the sales. He's doing a $500 a month membership after they do a 90-day thing. So it's amazing, man. He'll take, like the last study I talked to him about, he took 18 people. There was a company that was in the U.S., I might not use the terms quite right, because we have our public health care funding, which doesn't allow us to work with diabetics and stuff. It's really fucked up, but I actually like the U.S. model for that better. So the company was self-insured, right? So they pay for everything. And they had, they're not legally, I think they had 300 employees. Legally, they're not allowed to find out who those people are. They're using the most amount of resources. But an independent contractor can come in and sort of decipher through it, or he's allowed to, or stuff. But anyway, they targeted 30 people or so, and the top spenders, and they managed to get 18 to join the 90-day program. And it's like all one-on-one, then a small group, and it's basically a Madlab sort of model, where if you're one-on-one with somebody who's suffering from this kind of shame and dude, it's a scary thing if that's so run away and you're on insulin pumps and stuff like that. I mean, it's a scary thing. You're not going to do that in a group. You're like, one of my mentors has a famous line. He was like, no one's going to tell you they got genital herpes in a group of 10 people, And, that's, unfortunately, that's the world. That's, we're all suffering with something. And I mean, if you want to go in and be as shallow as possible and just jump around from little gym to little gym and not really develop those lasting bonds and relationships that are transformative, that's what I want. That's what I'm interested in. And, when you get to critical applications, there's no other way other than a human being really being in a boat with another human being. And they have a really good protocol for doing that. Like, how do you get that person to come in? And they have a whole protocol they follow. They've been working on for years and years. And anyway, this last one, they had 18 people, all diabetic, like branded type 2 diabetics. They've been like on this stuff for a long time. They were spending somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000 a month that the company was paying for, right? 90 days later, how many of the 18 do you think they got off all the type? They weren't type 2 diabetics anymore, just like, no. How many out of the 18 do you think they could get?
You tell me.
Putting you on the spot now. They got all 18. They got all 18, and they kept them for a year.
They went 18 for 18.
So now the program he has is he's got the doctor. So it's not a dog. What's the PA? What's the nurse practitioner?
PA, physician.
The nurse practitioner, the lab people, and the coaches, and the one person that directs it. And now those 18 people cost him $500 a month total. He guarantees it. It's a $500 a month membership. He's got all those people. It's a great model. That thing could transform. Right?
It's really, the more you've been talking about it, and the more I've been thinking, the phrase that keeps dinging in my head is like this transformative relationships. And when I think of even like a doctor has a fuck ton of clients. They have the quantity model, right? And again, that's probably an issue with the healthcare system in general. But a doctor, like my doctor sees me once a year for my annual physical. And maybe if I come in because I've got the flu or some shit like that, possibly, right? I don't really have a relationship with my doctor now. I'm 36. Fast forward to when I'm 53. Now, maybe then I have some genetic high blood pressure. I've got this and everything. I'm going to be seeing my doctor a lot more often because the stakes are higher because I now actually have real fucking problems. Yeah. With the relationship thing, do we believe that is when you're looking at your market, you've got to really assess, do I have an avatar? Like, I need to go after, if I want to have like what Patty's been talking about, I can't be going after the 22-year-old who is actually, for all other purposes, fine. Because they're not going to care enough to create a relationship with a coach. They don't want 10 hours of one-on-one with me. They want to pop in, get a workout, and get out. I need to be focusing on people who actually have real problems where fitness isn't just sexy, fun entertainment. Fitness is actually a means to a better life.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at our avatar, I spend we've spent nothing on marketing forever. We now do awareness campaigns around what we are, because what we are is evolving, and Tom really wants to tell that story. We pay $500 a month for an awareness campaign that brings people to our website, and the demographics 35 to 60. But having said that, I think it's just anybody that wants community, and the greatest thing about CrossFit was it built community. But when you see the gym owner flip hands, and you see the coaches keep on churning, the clients, your buddies, they're churning, and then the coaches are gone, and eventually the gym owner's gone, and then it's a new owner. I mean, it's not a long-term sustainable community like you would have in a church or a community hall, or these things that traditionally, kept communities together. I mean, our community down here in East Van, I'll tell you a quick story. We've had two of my coaches one got sick and couldn't work for 9 months. And the model we have, I still paid him $4,000 or $5,000 a month to stay home, and the coach co-op, so he gets his book of business, he gets his money minus paying his coaches. Our coaches, they're stepping up. They are stepping up to help, but they're still getting paid an hourly thing to help him out. And they do that on vacations. They do that for holidays. And then I had another one of my coaches. He lost his son. It was just fucking tragic. He lost his son in a daycare accident. Accident's a strong word. It's a daycare negligence, right? And man, I mean, losing a 15-month-old kid, that sent shockwaves through everybody. Our community was so tight that they had people that came by and cleaned the house. They had people that came by and cooked meals. They never cooked meals, never cleaned the house, never did any of that for 6 months. And I paid them, somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000 a month to stay home for almost a year. I mean, what other fitness industry place? I mean, if you're not working, you're getting zero, right? Yeah. So, I mean, if you want sustainability, I hope I don't get attacked by everybody again for this, but I really don't give a fuck. The gym owners are out there, and you want to be proud of what you're doing. You want to feel good about your community, and maybe it's a small town, maybe it's a little area in a big city. But I can walk down the street and hold my head high, and you run into anybody, and it's like, man, Patty and our coaches, they're well known in the community, and they've been there for a long time, and we got our own struggles trying to live on 100,000 or even 80,000 a year in this city is really difficult. Yeah, but if you want to have something that's sustainable, that the clients stick around, and you create a community that's awesome, the coaches make a good living, and they stick around, and you're not pulling your hair out all the time because everybody else is responsible for things. You're responsible for giving opportunity. I mean, all I do now is I just give people opportunity, and that's about it, right? All I have to do is worry about rent. I just worry about rent, and I can make, my 150 grand or 200 grand, or depending on the year. And even through COVID, we stayed okay, and I'm okay with that. I would have liked to have made $1 million, and we can't help out every gym out there. And like I said, I have no illusions of what we are now. We couldn't take on more than 5 people a month, and so I couldn't really help Eric Rosa. I could show him I could outsource or sell or license our all of our intellectual property, but I'm not interested, to be honest. I'm not interested in scaling out 20 implementation managers and 50 mentor coaches and training them all. That's so far to my skill set that I want to go surfing. That's me in the background. That's picked up surfing. Good. Picked up surfing old and fat. That's my crown jewel right there. El Salvador. Hit the top lip on that.
One thing, because I was just thinking about what questions am I going to get in, hey, I wish you would ask in this. So, and that one, you've obviously, you guys are like the pinnacle, especially in the Madlab cohort, your location there, you guys are the gold standard for, hey, listen, we got these guys making 80 to 100,000+. However, the appreciation of real estate in our city, the cost of living, inflation, whatever you want to call it, has risen. At some point, is there a cap? Do you ever have a conversation with your guys? Guys, you're never going to make 135. That's not going to happen.
That's a great question. Right now, we're in that inquiry with Greg Mack doing this program, and it's amazing. I go out and I tout how great our system is and all that stuff. We got another step to go, which is how are we going to get them that, and how are they going to, T-Bear's 49 or 50, Sheppy's turning 51. They've been there 15, 16, 17 years, and the system worked good enough, and they were professional people. T-Bear was a civil engineer making 120 grand a year. when he came to me, and he's like, if I can't make 100, I can't do this. And he was my first guinea pig that we figured out this system, right, over a long time to make it work. But now he's he's got arthritis in his feet. And now I'm worried for him. It's like, how am I going to get him to the next level? And I don't know if I have the answer, but I know that we have to be a place where people, we have a waiting list. We have had that. COVID kind of messed that up. There's a waiting list, and the coaches all just get referrals. There's no need for marketing, and we need to be $400 a month with a personal training session and a group class and nutrition. Like, we need a $400 a month package for them to get there, and they can manage. All they got to do is manage 50 clients. They work about 22 hours a week on the floor, and there's probably another 10 or 15 off the floor. I mean, the biggest thing in our model is, if you're trying to really help a person out, there's more shit going on outside the gym than there is inside the gym. So that's, there's checkups, and there's, they're friends outside. They were going to work 35 hours a week, but it's probably only 20 to 22 on the floor, and then they can make that 120,000, 130,000. But yet, still, you're not going to buy a home in Vancouver.
Sure. And again, I don't think, and there's no judgment on it whatsoever. I believe, again, when you're doing something nobody else has done, it is okay to build the plane while you're flying it, right? Like, and figure this thing out as you go. Let me ask you this, because I know we talked about, and I know, you mentioned like these Orange Theories and the F45s that pre-sell 200, 300, 400 memberships. If someone comes on to you and they want to be a Madlab, most of them are probably being retrofitted, meaning they're currently an existing gym of some degree, CrossFit primarily. However, how would you then, since you're a quality over quantity guy, if I'm like, hey, listen, I've got about 150K and I'm going to open a brand new location, and on day one, I can't, I need there needs to be a certain populate, because I got to hire that one coach, but I need those clients to do, or are you like kind of a grow with the business as the business grows? You, owner, are going to do all these PT sessions in the beginning, and then when you hit this number, then you hire the first coach. How does that work for a startup Madlab type gym?
It's a great question, and there's lots of different ways to tackle it, but I can say this: if the guy or girl that's going to lead the coaches doesn't know what they're doing, i.e., they've never gone out and maintained at least 20 or 30 clients, it's craziness.
They got to get their hands dirty. They got to.
How are you going to teach anybody how are they going to have any respect for you? How are you going to be able to answer any questions or lead them in any way?
Sure.
And that was the whole thing with the gym launch thing that really got me, is all these guys sitting behind their computers thinking they're geniuses. And I don't know if you remember some of those guys that are on those online forums on Bukkake, and this week I got 100 people coming in. I'm just like, oh my god, man, like that just that hurts. It goes against every single thing that I believe in and that I know works and doesn't work. And those guys are all out of the industry now. And they were convinced that they were going to have $1 million business. Just convinced of it. And when you said something about flying by wire, I mean, what I can say is I can tell people how to do the first 10 years. And you look at business consultants that are out there now, and just look at any of the ones you mentioned. Some of them don't even have a proof of concept. They don't even have a gym they can point to and say, hey, I did this and I can answer your questions. They're just making shit up, throwing numbers out and telling people to go do it themselves, and they've never done it. They've never done it themselves. Yeah. And it's ludicrous. It's like in the engineering field, if I said, okay, go build this bridge, and they're coming to you saying, well, how do I do this truss, and how does that angle work? And you're like, you don't have the answer, right? I mean, the day-to-day on the ground, what the fuck happens? You need to have those answers as a business consultant. And you see the gym launch guys, they sold for whatever, 46 million, and they say they're business consultants. I mean, they never ran a gym in their life, and the ones they did run failed spectacularly, but yet they're business consultants. It fucking boggles the mind. I mean, it just boggles the mind that people will buy stuff that hasn't been tested and proven. It's just, I don't know. It depresses me, but at the same time, I keep on going.
Yeah. Well, listen, dude, this was dope. I hope you got that.
Get it off my chest, buddy.
I'm good, and I'm honored that you chose to jam and do it with me. I really fucking am. I think people are really going to dig this episode. If anyone who wants to get in contact with you, they liked what you were saying and they want to maybe dig in, maybe I didn't ask the right question, or they have additional questions, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Best way is just go on our website. Madlabgroup.com is we're going to call it Madlab Business or Madlab Consulting. Is the
new
group
website, by the way, is
right?
great. The new
Your
branding
boy Boris,
great.
man, I'm listening to you all the time. I got to say, Stu, I really respect you because you've shown us that you don't have to hate the guy who's doing something different than you, or you kind of got a really good talent there, brother, bringing people together and not like this guy's doing something different and it's like fuck you. And that industry has been dominated by that, so I really appreciate that with you. And you're doing really good things with the branding stuff, and I see what you're doing, helping people set up their businesses, buying. If you can, anybody got anywhere half a successful business, you can buy a property. That is the way to go, and I know you're working on that stuff. People want to get a hold of us. Right now we're redoing the site again. So this thing about our backbone is okay. The industry is fucked because it serves the people at the top. The guys that are selling the 2-day certs and the guys that are selling the franchises, they don't have a plan for you 5 years from now, 3 years from now, or 10 years from now. They never did it themselves, man. This is all made up, and they're gonna make all their money up front, selling the franchise and selling the equipment. And God help you later, and that's exact fucking truth. And that's what happened with CrossFit. As I watched it, Greg didn't have any clue how to run a gym, none. And it was always insecure and attacking everybody for it, right? We know how to tell people how to do a first day, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. The thing I'm working on right now is what does 20 years to 30 years look like? And how would I possibly keep guys in their 50s and 60s? And that is going to be a monumental challenge in our city. So we're redoing the website. It's like the prime directive. It's got to win for the client, coach, and owner. We decided that 17 years ago. We wrote it on the wall. Okay, every decision we make has got to work for all those parties. And then we're like, well, how are we going to measure it? We're a bunch of engineers and systems analysts and stuff like this. And we were business development guys. And we sat around and we wrote it on the fucking wall. Okay, how are we going to measure it? And so how do we measure the clients winning? And then we started off with back squats and 1 mile run and stuff. They would ace that and they would still leave. They go, well, fuck, I guess the only thing we care about is them sticking around. And they're like, okay, that's a number one measurement. And then it'd be like, oh, well, this guy's paying, $100 a month, and this other guy's paying $210. Like, which one do we value more? Well, okay, average client value is important. And we boiled it down and looked at it every way we could. Average client value and retention. That's all we care about. That's what we measure. KPI 1 and 2. Okay, now how did the coach win? Well, they proclaimed it. We need to make $80,000 a year, at minimum, right? So you figure that out, and then we're working 45 hours a week. Well, we're burnt out 3 years later, and we're like, well, fuck, this doesn't work. So then it's got to be $1 per coach hour, right? That's the tradesman way. So you figure that out. So coach getting paid a lot. He's making, like, Tom makes $100 an hour when he's on the floor, right? And it's hard to explain that to people. Like, how can you pay him $100 an hour? Well, go study how a coach co-op works. We got it all laid out. And then at the end of the day, I was going bankrupt. I was working as a coach, Stu, and I was a good coach. I could manage 80 people, and they wouldn't leave, right? But the business, was making no money. And it took me a while to figure that out. And it's like, okay, we got to set this up. The owner needs to make 20% EBITDA as a target within 5 years of starting, and that includes getting paid as the cleaner, if it is that, marketing manager, GM, coach, bottle washer. You need to be paid for all those roles and still 20%. And then at the end of the day, if you're going to take the risk to build a business, what is it worth 10 years from now, 20 years from now? So that's 5 times EBITDA. And if you can show a stable asset that has stable employees, they like that, right? They like that. And they got stable clients, and you're not spending a ton on marketing. As soon as they look at that marketing budget, like anybody who's buying a business, take a look at the marketing budget. If it's fucking massive, don't buy it, right? So anyway, that's what we do. We're only looking for high-performing people. If you can't understand complex math or even grade 10 math real well, and you're not super charming, or people don't like you, I can't help you. But if you see yourself in this and there's something that you want, you deserve it, right? These are my best clients. The 2 podcasts I did there, Stu, that you put me onto, I want to send you the Sarah and Patrick from Cincinnati. They came in because a coach at Cornerstone Fitness, another Madlab gym, they have a really good business. It's more than $1 million a year. They got full-time coaches that have been there for a long time. And the coach was talking to another coach. And they're like, there's no way you're making that. There's no way. It's bullshit. And then they sat down and showed the T4 slips or whatever you guys call them. And the coach brought that to the gym owner. And then they made a change. And they're high-performance people. They are really, he was a an officer in the military. She's fucking brilliant. And that podcast it's my life's work. Them telling, like, I'm just asking questions and they're telling me back how this thing works. This little piece of beauty that we suffered for so long and took so many fucking beatings along the way that they can get it. So, but they brought out the word. Well, we were pretty high performing people, and my light went on going. We had one time we had a product we were selling called the Life Preserver that Rob told me to do it, and it's not the right market. If you see yourself that you want these things in life, you want to have a great life, and you're not getting them, you really deserve them, then that's Madlab. Go check out madlabgroup.com or Madlab on Facebook and Instagram. So anyway, dude, I did take a 2-year sabbatical completely from those forums. They're doing my head in, and from all social media. This is the first thing I've done in well over 2 years, I would say.
I know, and I'm honored. I'm glad we got to kick it back off. I always enjoyed chopping it up with you, man. I really do. Ladies and gentlemen, Craig fucking Patterson. Thank you, dude.